but we're gonna have public class item. Now typically in coding, you all right, ladies and gentlemen. Now you may be wondering, Mike, what the heck are these weird things? Okay, what the heck is that? The scriptable one. And I'll probably be saying, oh, these are scriptable objects. And then you'll be like, well, I didn't see those before. How could I possibly get them into my folder, into this project? Or something along those lines. If these are your questions, I'm more than happy to oblige, because this will be the topic of today's video. How do we get the scriptable object, essentially? And I'll be going over that, how it works. I'll give you an example before we dive into this. But before we do, if you like this video and like this tutorial, and it's very helpful, why not go ahead and slash at the like, subscribe button. Maybe turn on that notification bell, take the hammer, hit it, just so you can see more uploads. And if you want to see more tutorials like this, hey, let me know down in the comments or any other video suggestions you may have. Otherwise, let's get into the video. So, what is a scriptable object, you may be asking? Well, unlike a particular, object like, let's just say, a prefab or a 3D model, like typically a FBX or, an OBJ format. Unlike those kinds of objects, or like a mesh, scriptable objects are basically like, they are data containers in Unity. So the way you think about this, it's okay. I might go over. Okay. Think the prefab, all the objects, the mesh, as almost like a it's the best way to do it. Think of it like a box, like your cereal, or your action figures, okay, or a Lego set. Okay, that's your Lego right there. What the scriptable object is, okay, it's the data of the variable. Okay, like let's look at the assault ammo right here. Okay, what this will do, okay, it will contain all the data, the necessary data, including the prefab right here. See right there? But this is just, one of the created scriptable objects, but still the point. They are the very data necessary for this Unity product, for Unity in particular. Now, I will say this, that this is the only one. Like scriptable objects, you typically only find in Unity. I could be wrong, right? I know that they don't typically show up in the Unreal Engine, but if I'm wrong, if there are other game engines, feel free to let me know in the comments. But that's essentially what it is. Okay, they are the data that is very much necessary, right? And what? And it's like, okay, how is this useful? How is this useful? Right? This could be used for, let's say, bringing up, like, like hell, right? But here is a good example. So I'm gonna click on player. I'm gonna click on this. I will direct you to one of the scripts attached. We're gonna go to the inventory script. Why the inventory script, you may be asking, okay? Remember the scriptable object I've, used as an example to kind of show you. Well, let's look here. And you notice right here, starting primary weapon, secondary weapon. It's gonna get the data within, the scriptable object, which we go to weapons, we go here. What this will do, if let's just say there was a gun lying on the ground, I interact, I pick it up, it will add to the inventory. It will add to this right here, to this element here. Okay, and essentially, so when it's in the inventory, I can press one of the number on the keyboard, and or alpha 1, alpha 2, so on and so on, and it will pull out. It will take the very data within the scriptable object, and it will, in this case, the revolver is going to pull out a revolver prefab that's contained in this, which is very, very helpful, and it saves a lot of time. So, how the heck do you create one? Like, how do you do this? Okay, that's possible. Now, you could do, you can just create scripting and a scriptable object, right? Very simple. That's one of the ways to do this. But what if I told you there is another way, a cooler way, so cool that you can basically flex? You want to flex on your friends. Maybe you want to impress someone. You want to impress a girl. Go, hey, look what I can do. I got you, man. And I'm going to show you how. All right, I'm going to cut to Visual Script. Visual Studio Code. Starting right now. Alrighty. Alright, so we're at a brand new, an empty script. Not going to be in the Unity project because I don't want to mess with that. But for now, at the very least. So what we're going to do, okay, first important thing, okay, if you want this to work, okay, you got to use using system collections. You got to have that. So now, a very cool thing about the Visual Studio Code is it will fill in for you right here. System collections, and then we want to use using Unity Engine. It's very important to have that because this is what will allow us. This is what will allow this to function. You know, typical, pretty typical stuff. But alright, but we're gonna have public class item. Now typically in coding, you have it in mono behavior, but we don't want to do that here. Okay, if we want to do a script that will allow us to make a scriptable object, we want to do scriptable. We want to type scriptable object. What this will do, because this is what's going to allow us to create the scriptable object. It will call upon this right here. So once we are done, okay, here's the next step here. Here's the next step. We want to type public string, I guess, like item name, but for pretty much your own time, if you're just, you know, working on an object, you can name anything. But for this example, for this, I'm just gonna name item name, and then we want to go ahead and add public string description. This, because the string, that's what's going to allow us, this is what's going to allow us to input information for our scriptable object. And then what we're also going to do, and then we'll just add a sprite icon just for the sake of it. But now, what we're also going to do is, once we have that, we're going to also do something. We're also going to be doing, I'm going to go ahead, public virtual void use. We're going to name it that. Now, why virtual? Is that simple? Because we're going to have another script call upon this script right here. And I'll later on show you how to do it. But for this use function, we want to add debug using item. Okay, this will allow us to see if it's working or not. So we're going to save and we're going to add to the project later on. Now, it will work, but then, Mike, why is that important, you might ask? Because what this will do is it'll allow us to call upon another script. We're gonna make a new file, and we're just gonna call this. We're just gonna call it emote item. Emote item.cs. I don't know. Emote. I don't know. We're gonna make like a new file here. We're going to call this monster. We're gonna call this monster model.cs. We're gonna call this model create a new file. We're going to create a new one. Now, we're going to copy paste to the monster model for this one. Now for this, we're going to have public class. We're going to have public class because it needs to be public in order to, be called, easily called. But this time, for this, we're going to call item. Why? Because this script will allow for the item script to be called. That's why it needs to be this way for this to work. Now for this one, we want to add, if you want to add a model or prefab, all we gotta do here is type game object, and you can name whatever it is, but you gotta have like that to work, and then you can, I don't know, you can type whatever you want to add to the script, whether it's, I'm just gonna go, you can type whatever it is, but for the sake of this, I'm just gonna have this. But now we're gonna get to the juicy part here. Okay? Now in this one too, you want to go here and add using system dot collections. Sorry, I meant you want to add runtime compiler service. This is what makes it work, but then you'll be like, Mike, okay, we got the script and all, but okay, how could I now create? Where is the ability to create? Good question. And I'm gonna teach you this magic. I'm gonna teach you this secret, okay? Something that would be the equivalent of Batman learning a secret technique from the ancient Tibetan monks. Okay, but what you want to do now, okay? What you want to do now, you want to go ahead and type create asset menu. You want to type something very similar to this, okay? File name, new monster model, okay? You can type whatever it is in the string, the following strings, is up to you, okay? And then you can have inventory of monster model, okay? This is important. You want to know why? This is what will allow us to create the monster model. This is what will allow us to create our scriptable object. So I'm going to save, and then I'm going to demonstrate this. Don't worry, I'm not lying. I'm not bluffing, okay? If I'm bluffing, you can roast me in the comments, okay? But we're gonna go back to Unity, and I'm gonna insert these scripts in. I'll see you back in Unity. Alright, once you compile your scripts into Unity, either you added the script by right-clicking, create, and then scripting, script, or you just click, drag the script into this. And a quick tip, by the way, I recommend if you're going to do a Unity project, create a scripts folder. Okay, create one. Add all the scripts you created into this folder. That way, it's organized. Now, that includes the scriptable objects. Now, you may be wondering, now the reason why this is there, this prefab, is mainly due so that way I can have a better time accessing it, and then drag this prefab with all the scripts there into one of the scripts. Okay, for the monster spawners. But once you got your stuff, now it'll say item 1. This is the same script that I typed, but once you do that, right click and you'll go to create. Now there's going to be a new thing pop up. Usually it will start from folder to custom font, but because of that script that we typed, you typed or I typed, there's this new thing called inventory for this example. Now if we go there, oh look at that, monster model. Click, and I guess zombie, and then boom. Look at that. Look at that. And then we can drag our prefab into the scriptable object. And there we go. That will be all for this tutorial. Again, if you find this useful or you like it, please feel free to punch the notification bell and then claw that like and subscribe button to see more like this or any other content, any other videos you may want to see. Otherwise, I hope y'all have a good day or good night wherever you may be in the world, and I'll see y'all later.